What's up, guys? It's Gentle Onion Gaming, and today we're bringing you a top 10s list. We are going to go through each of our top 10 favorite video games of all time. Keep in mind, these are kind of personal to us, so it's not the objectively best games of all time. It's usually what we've just enjoyed the most throughout our lives. So it's very opinion-based, so do not bite our heads off when something weird hits a list. And to start, we'll go with Derek. What's your number 10?
Well, my number 10 is actually like an indie game. I've played it a lot. I know you guys don't like it so much, but The Binding of Isaac, it was the first game that got me into roguelikes. Loved it. I loved the harsh difficulty and then how much variation it had. So,
yeah,
and
cool.
it's just got so much replayability, so that's why I like it.
You've probably put a lot of hours into that game.
Oh, yeah.
Coulter, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Gears of War. It's the second shooter that kind of offered a little bit more and a different experience than Halo, and introduced me to just single lives instead of just constantly being destroyed at spawns.
Right, so switched it up for you a little bit. Mm-hmm. All right, Zack, number 10?
Madden 2005. Now, the reason is not because this was an exceptional Madden year, because I don't really remember how good it is, but Madden 2005 was kind of the gateway to my buying Madden every year since.
Okay.
And
Madden's your thing.
Yeah, and so really, and I do basically the same thing in Madden. It's all about the kind of building your team and the general manager type thing. That's when really, I think it was 2005 is when they really started that.
Okay.
And so that just sucked me in, and I've been that way for ever since. And I remember always being really interested or confused because my brothers loved the Final Fantasy, especially 10.
Yeah.
They loved those games, and I was always like, how can they play this? Because it just seems so like, the same thing over and over. And I never thought, like, I'm essentially doing the same thing.
With Madden, yeah.
Yeah, because and it's very much a role-playing game, Madden
Yeah, that's
is.
pretty
like,
much
you
what
are
you're
the
doing.
GM. So, Madden 2005.
Okay.
Wow, that does surprise me. Well, my top number 10 is Shadow of the Colossus.
Solid.
Obviously, it's a great game, very artistic, and that's kind of why I liked it. But mainly, it was the first game that I played that had just the boss fights.
Yep.
You just go, you fight the bosses. And ever since then, I found that I really like those games. I loved Titan Souls, I loved Fury, and I just loved a really challenging boss fight, and then you move on to the next one. And Shadow of the Colossus was not only the beginning, but one of the, amazing games of the time with that. And there's a lot to be said, but that was the main thing that made me think to put it on here, was just that good to me. Right. So awesome. Let's move on. Number 9, Derek.
As far as Rockstar games go, I was never into Grand Theft Auto. I played one maybe for 20 minutes, didn't enjoy it. However, Red Dead Redemption, I thought was so solid. I mean, I felt like it made you feel like such a bad cowboy. You roll into a town, you start blasting some people. Like, it just, it felt so good just to, like, be in that world, be a cowboy, ride around, do that thing. So, very Rockstar, game still, but I just liked it so much.
I regret not playing that game.
Oh, and they're coming out with
yeah,
the second one.
and that's really why I regret it. Did you ever play Red Dead Revolver?
I played
Yes. that, and I got stuck on a boss, and so I got really annoyed. I don't think I ever finished it.
Right.
But I didn't really know that was like the successor, that Red Dead Redemption was the next one. I wish I would have played that.
Not only is it like a Rockstar game where you would think of it more like GTA in the West, but there's just so much random stuff you could do, and a lot of the achievements were actually really kind of tongue-in-cheek, I thought. So there was one where you could tie people up, and if you tied up a female, like a damsel, and put her on a railroad track, you'd get a trophy for it. And so I just love things like that, and I love the open world aspect. So definitely, I could play that game.
And it's a different kind of era as well. Wild.
And that's why I like it so much.
Yeah. That is different.
Awesome. That's cool. Coulter, number 9.
My number 9 would be Forza Horizon 3. It is an open world racing game. Yes, whoa. Surprisingly enough. And it'll let you do anything. It'll let you set up your races. They have set tracks already, but you can race like muscle cars on sand dunes pretty much.
Okay.
So I really like it
That's
for
kinda
its
Interesting, yeah.
open-minded
I
aspect.
I don't mind
honestly-
racing games, but
Yeah, I've played them, but I didn't think a racing game would make a top 10 list. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Zach,
he
top
loves the thrill.
number 9.
Number 9, Super Mario Sunshine.
Hey,
And-
first Mario game.
Yeah, and that might be a little controversial because people they didn't really like Sunshine, and I think it was a thing. It was the second one, the 3D one, and it was just like very different. Why do you have this jetpack like water thing? Why is he talking? But man, the level design is so cool. It seems vast.
Right.
It's huge. Like the Nintendo 64 one seemed big for sure.
Right.
This one just had I liked the kind of aesthetic, the tropical, very bright, big. I don't know. I like that game a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. It is a different Mario, but it's cool.
It's one of the few I'd never played, but every time I watch it played, I'm like, kind of missed the boat on that.
Yeah, that's kind of us with the GameCube in general.
Yeah, right.
My number 9 is Prince of Persia: Warrior Within.
Yeah.
My God, that game to me was so epic. In the best way I can describe it is essentially it was for me what God of War is for a lot of people. They were into this hack and slash and you could do all these cool things and that was and visually it was great, and so a lot of people were into God of War. For me, it was Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. Very dark game. Heavy metal soundtrack, Godsmack's on there. I Stand Alone. That's where I heard it first. Was like, this song is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of really cool mechanics with the time and things. Great puzzles, which
Time
I
travel,
like.
even.
Yeah, and the fights were all about you being an acrobat, and you could run up walls, flip over them, cut off heads, throw their weapons, or just straight up take them and dual wield. Everything about it just felt like I am genuinely a warrior of time, and I thought it was an amazing game. So
Prince of Persia is also, I can't think of another franchise that has ever done this. You know what I mean? They went from a T rating to an M, which I can't think of another game.
And was that
has done it.
PS2?
That
Yes.
was.
See, and a mature rating for a PS2 game, that must have been pretty dark.
Yeah, well, compared to what you will see with maybe a Rockstar game or some other ones
Right.
nowadays, not really.
Yeah, true.
But it was, had some of the suggestive things, and it had blood, and back then that was a big deal, and that really
Chick in a
ramped
metal
up.
thong. And not comfortable.
But yeah, for me that was basically my God of War, I would say.
Solid game.
So Derek, number 8.
It kind of pains me to have this as my number 8. However, it's still it's such a great game. It's such a great series. I have Uncharted 2, which I think is undoubtedly the best Uncharted that I played. I haven't played 4. But I mean, I played it so much. I love the story. You get invested in the characters. And then, of course, I thought the multiplayer was great. There's only been really like 2 shooters that have been really good at the multiplayer, and Uncharted 2 is one of them. I just loved that storyline. It felt like you were playing a movie.
Yeah.
Multiplayer, it just felt like the most high-paced action, never stagnant multiplayer I've ever done. And I just loved it so much.
I'm a little surprised that it's that far down. I thought it'd be closer in like your top 5.
That's why I'm like, it kind of pains me to say it's number 8.
Well, I'm interested to see what else you got then. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's
I think I may feel a little resistance on them now.
All right, Coulter, number 8.
My number 8 would have to be Sins of a Solar Empire. It is an
Okay.
RTS space game, pretty much.
think
They
I've
call it
heard
a 4-time strategy game.
Yeah, I know.
Is what it's
Kinda what
actually
it's
called. But the reason I like it so much and keep coming back is because people will start modding it, and there'll be different mods for like Halo or Star Trek or anything pretty much about space. And I'll always come back to play those mods, and I enjoy the crap out of those epic big space battles.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've heard a lot about that game from people, and I at one point in time was going to try it and just never did. So, yeah.
I've never heard of it. I'll have to check it out.
Awesome. Zach, number 8.
Metal Gear Solid 5.
Okay, yeah.
Phantom Pain. And this is kind of different for me because I never played Metal Gears.
Same.
And so I don't I don't know the lore, so I almost feel a bit like a hypocrite even putting this on my list, because there's probably people that will watch this and will just be
How can you
dumbfounded.
do
Like,
five?
yeah,
Wow,
how
that's
can you
terrible.
start there? Not,
Yeah.
But this game was so good. And I don't really replay games unless I love it a lot.
Right.
I can't play games for endless hours. And I went through like 40 hours of that game like that, dude. It was so good. And I remember Splinter Cell Conviction. Remember that game?
Mm-hmm.
I adored that game. So there was something
That
to
one
the
was fun.
stealth of the
Right.
Splinter Cells. And Metal Gear 5 did that, but in a huge world. Completely open world. So unbelievable stealth mechanics in a vast world. So
Not to
love
mention
this.
that you were pretty much forming your own story as you played through the missions too.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't any cutscenes like I'm usually normally used to when I'm playing games. This one had none. It was pretty much you are the cutscene, you are doing all the action, you're directing all of this.
So a lot of it was lost on me. A lot of the lore,
Yeah.
a lot of
Right,
the
what was-
people, but the
Yeah.
the gameplay alone, man, made
That's
this
impressive,
game
man.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Okay, cool. My number 8 is probably something that, again, get my head bit off for. I have Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
Is
And
that Super Nintendo?
no, Street
Nah,
Fighter
no.
4 is PS3.
What?
So Street Fighter 2 is the one that everyone's always going to say, because that was the Street Fighter that basically made fighting games.
Yeah.
And I
The
did
archetype.
I did play Street Fighter 2, but I did not play it a lot. And at the time, I wasn't going to play fighting games because of it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't like fighting games. Street Fighter 4 was different. I got into Street Fighter 4. I loved the game, and I learned a lot about it. I've gone to Evo 3 times because of it, and I play on an arcade stick, that I've owned 3 separate ones of that for because of Street Fighter 4. And now I'm playing Street Fighter 5, and it just really opened my eyes to the mechanics, but of like fighting games. But beyond that, as far as a PvP game goes, I don't think you can make much of an argument for a better balanced PvP game. There's been so many professional players who've been in the top 8 of the biggest tournaments in the world with different characters, so many different characters that have won the thing, and so few balance patches compared to a lot of the ones you'll see in esports like League and Dota, that it's kind of unbelievable, and it really is a testament to the player's skill. And so, yeah, I think it was just, for me, a kind of revolutionary game, and that's why I have it there.
It's one of those ones where you hear about tier lists in fighting games because of a character's just naturally better than them than another. And both times that I've seen Evo done, 2 of the bottom of the barrel in the tier lists were busted out in the finals. One of them winning the whole thing with that bottom tier character, and then the other one taking the worst character and beating another guy on his top tier main. And that was when Infiltration played Hakan against PR Balrog's Balrog.
Yeah.
And I mean, at that point I was like, these guys are on a whole other level.
Yeah,
and it's just a solid game.
It's a hype game.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Derek, number 7.
We're going. I'm doing a little throwback here because I don't know if you remember this, Brian. The very first game I remember us playing at all, of our own, was Super Mario Brothers 3. And I mean, I remember that being just such a great Mario Brother game. Like, it had your classic perfected 2D scrolling, and then it had all these secrets. It had all these power-ups. It had these unique worlds. And then, the more you play it, you find these other crazy things that you wouldn't have never thought that you could do in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just so solid, and I remember us pouring so much time into it and just loving every second.
If there's any game I'll ever be able to speedrun, it would be that one, because
Agreed.
it's the only one I've put enough time into doing to like perfect how far I can jump, to perfect the levels, to know how to skip things. It's the only one I've ever done that with. So yeah, it's just a classic in the truest sense of the word.
Right, exactly. And the only other thing I can say about it is we found the secrets in that game entirely on our own, including, I guess, mild spoiler alert if you're going to go back and play it blind, in the desert world, where you can break that top right corner and go into that completely new area you never thought of if you had that one item that you
get
had
the
to have
wisdom.
gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, We found that. That's babies.
See, and that's awesome because I don't know if I've ever played every level of that game because it was ingrained in me that you go to this place to get to that key to go to the whatever world.
Yeah.
And so I would actually love, and it's a great game. It's not on my top 10, but I would love to actually go back and play all of those
100%
because I'm sure I played maybe only half.
Right.
Right.
And the only
Which is a
one I
shame.
played was Super Mario Brothers World, I believe.
Okay.
Missing out, Coulter.
Missing out.
I know.
Yeah,
What's your next one?
All right,
So,
Coulter.
Coulter, what do you got?
Yeah, what's number 7?
For my number 7, also goes back in time, but not as far back as Mario Bros. 3. It is Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Ooh,
It is
at
the
7.
first-
That's
That's
seven,
that's
yeah.
a slight to a lot of people.
That's a top 5 game, I think.
Yeah.
For a lot, yeah, I would agree for a lot of other people. It was the first adventure world game, pretty much, I've ever played, and a really good Zelda game with dungeon crawlers and puzzles.
Yep.
It was really interesting. It was just a new concept compared to GoldenEye or or
Well, basically
Mario
anything that had
Brothers
been made up
64.
to that time.
Mhm.
It was revolutionary.
yeah.
I mean, yeah. There's
So-
so much that has already been said about it, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, number 7, Coulter busting out with big guns. Zach.
You look.
No, I'm not reading.
Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4, number
Uncharted
7.
4.
Okay.
Number-
Second Uncharted.
Yes, and this, I mean, you just think about like you talked about Uncharted 2, but Uncharted 4 was, it was that, but just so much better looking. It was amazing how good that game looked, and then how they ended his story, like Drake's story, was just, it was amazing. It was awesome. And then it has a feel of kind of Last of Us. They definitely took some cues, and so the game overall was just, it had a lot of different features and better things than the old Uncharted did because it was post Last of Us, and the things that
Yeah.
they learned in Last of Us they
Oh,
implemented.
I
in
have to play because I love
Uncharted
The Last
4.
of Us as well, so I
Right.
have to play this.
Wow. Okay, cool. My number 7, I don't know if it'll make a top 10s list for anyone else in the world, but
Ooh.
it is Legend of Dragoon.
Oh,
That game is like so OG, RPG, and at the same time I still talk about that game as a point of reference for RPGs and where they should go for the future, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The battle system, while simple, takes a whole new route. It's basically a Final Fantasy game. It's really long, it's got a confusing storyline, but it's got great characters, lots of fun mechanics, and the battle system just took it up just one more step, and really is something I think people like Square Enix should look at as they make Final Fantasies here, now, in the future, to
Right.
take cues from still. For me, and how much I love that game, I still, that's why it'll hit this list for me. It's because I think it should have kind of birthed a revolution, but it just didn't.
And so is that I know the name, but was that PlayStation?
PlayStation 1, yep.
1? Okay.
Stolen from me.
Because that
Yeah,
PlayStation
that-
1, that's
well, it's one of those games that if you were to buy are quite expensive too.
Yeah, nowadays.
But that was one of the games I remember. I didn't play, but I watched Brian play, and I never touched the game, yet it stands out in my mind. And when Brian and I'll be like, we need a game like this, both of us will be like, yeah, you need something like Legend of Dragoon, what they had.
It comes up
And it was
all the time.
And even now, like Brian said, it's almost like, how does no other RPG maker look at this game and say, we have to borrow elements now?
Yeah, exactly.
It was really solid.
So basically, guys, those are our 10 through 7, and just for time's sake, we're going to break it up. So check our next video to see 6 through 4, and we'll catch you guys next time. If you want to join the Onion Patch, hit the subscribe button. You can do it. We know you can. Peace out, guys.